Testing kit will be available in more locations in Gauteng as early as next week. It'll allow South African healthcare professionals to test at least 16 samples in 45 minutes. This is according to Gift of the Givers founder Dr Imtiaz Sooliman. It comes amid an escalation in the number of South Africans requesting testing for the coronavirus, as well as a current backlog in processing. To tell us more, we're joined via Skype by Dr Imtiaz Sooliman. Doc, thanks for joining us. Great to have you, as always, on the program.
Good morning, Leanne. Thank you very much.
So this is that kit we've been hearing about, where you literally have your test, 45 minutes later, the results are through. So how did you get hold of them? Talk to us about sort of the background to you putting these out to South Africans.
Well, basically, it's not me. Gift of the Givers is not running a lab. We are in touch with people who are running labs. And the lady that has been running the lab called me last week, and she said a company called her and said the previous machines that they had, the old machines that normally tested the human papilloma virus, that machine, a new cartridge has been made for it in America. It's approved by the FDA in America, and it does what South Africa wants. It does PCR testing. There's two types of tests. One is a finger prick test, which is not accepted by the country. And the other one is we test the antigen directly or the virus directly. It's called PCR. So I asked, is it PCR? She said yes. The company then confirmed that after the 1st of April, the first cartridges will be in South Africa, and 16 of those samples can go into one machine, and you can get the result in 45 minutes for all 16 samples. If you have 3 machines, you can get 48 results in 45 minutes.
This is fantastic news, and purely because it seems like the testing time and the testing kits that are available not only in South Africa but globally are an issue, that we cannot test enough people and get the results through fast enough. So when we talk numbers, what are we looking at? How many can you test a day?
Well, if it's 48 tests in 45 minutes, you can do a lot. But although you can do that many in one testing, you can't do that many swabs in one testing site. Indeed. If the swabs come from other areas, it'll be fine. But it can't be done from one site. So we've been appointed by the minister to the lab. The Gift of the Givers has now been opted onto the ministerial lab testing committee officially as part of the lab testing committee. And in the meeting yesterday, a lot of the labs were represented there. And some of them said they got backlogs for 8 to 13 days on the testing. The results are not coming out in 24 hours. Some people are even getting results like 13 days later when the quarantine period is already up. So the demand is huge in all the labs through the country. But the problem is now with the lockdown, people are going to have more anxiety and thinking the virus is spreading faster, and you're going to get a much bigger demand for the kits. And worldwide, it's a problem.
Yeah. Let's get some details now, because we know that these tests are quite expensive. I mean, some are talking around the price of about 1,500 rand. Now, you actually are offering this at half the price for 750 rand, but strictly to those who need it. So it's great that you're offering that huge discount, but how do you determine who needs the test and not?
Again, you follow the NICD guidelines. This is not something you do yourself. In a matter like this, you have to follow protocols that have been set down. The protocol has been set down by the NICD, and there's a questionnaire. Each person who calls in, it's an appointment basis. You just can't walk in. It's an appointment basis. You phone in and you give your symptoms and you give a history. The first one is, have you come from a high-risk country? Italy, Spain, UK, Germany, Switzerland, America, those the high-risk countries. The second one is, have you come into contact with somebody who's positive? Those are the first 2 criteria. I've added a third one to say that if anybody has flown even from a low-risk country through Dubai airport, you're high risk. Yeah. Because people from the high-risk countries cross that airport, and it's important that that category is also considered.
Yeah.
And that if you are, the point is, if you don't have symptoms, stay at home. Don't come for testing, we're wasting the kit. But if you develop symptoms within 14 days, then you come for the test.
Okay. So high-risk travel areas, those who have symptoms, and particularly the symptoms we're referring to is because a lot of people talk to very different symptoms that people go through. I mean, some may get a fever, some might not. Some get a cough, some get a sore throat, some get typical flu symptoms, and yet it's just the flu and not coronavirus. So, how do you determine who can come and who shouldn't come?
In the context, the history of travel is the most important.
Okay.
Because it's very difficult to identify between a different type of flu and the coronavirus. It's almost impossible. And that's why you have the waiting period. And the most significant aspect of all that is, or let's put it more simply, you're staying in Khayelitsha. You haven't had contact with anybody from the rest of the world. You haven't had traveled to any place. You're not working anywhere. You're unemployed. You've been sitting in your home for the last 5 weeks. Suddenly you have the weather changes, you have a running nose, you have fever, you have joint aches, you have a sore throat. You don't have coronavirus. You haven't had contact with anybody who hasn't come to that area. There's no contact. The starting point is, has somebody traveled overseas? Because that virus did not start in South Africa. It's important. It came from international travel. And if you see the first figures up to the first 200 plus, almost every person there has come from some other part of the world that had the virus. It never initiated in South Africa.
I suppose what's left now is to ask you, where are these testing stations? I believe that at one point the initial one was in Mayfair, Johannesburg, but there are going to be others. Will there be drive-thrus as well? Because we've seen some of these and they've worked very successfully in other countries, the drive-through way of testing.
We have the one in Mayfair West running from the 16th of March. There's been a lot of people coming there. And exactly what you're saying, we do need a drive-through test. And we only put up the first one to see if, we always experiment one first, to see if the neighbors are going to complain, if there's no contamination. We don't want hundreds of people coming because remember, it's also social distancing. You've got to reduce contact, you've got to reduce risk. That's why a drive-through is much better. We've been talking to Wits University. Professor Adam Habib has agreed to give us a site. We're seeing it today. And if that's fine, it's workable, then we will use that as a second site. We've got a third site running in Roshni. This afternoon, we'll be starting at a site near the Ahmed Al-Qadi Hospital. Not in the hospital itself. We don't want patients to start getting fever and excitement and panic. It's a distance away from the hospital where a private yard has been given to us, a space for the hospital where there's no contact. And through the drive-through, it's far safer because nobody gets out of the car. And that's why you got to do it by appointment. You can't just rock up there. We won't see you.
Yeah.
It's for the risk, for your own risk and for the risk of the people around you. So you test you whilst you're in the car, 30 seconds per person and you're gone.
Yeah. This is in Johannesburg, from what I'm understanding. Plans to go nationwide?
Yes, well, as I said, Ahmed Al-Qadi Hospital is in Durban.
It's in Durban.
We're looking for a site. We're looking for a site in Cape Town. As I said, we can't rush it for several reasons. We've got to see the challenges, and of course the test kits, because the new test kit hasn't arrived yet. We can't excite the people and start making all these tests, and suddenly you put a swab away for 8 days, which won't be efficient. It won't be effective. So we don't aim to give people false hope and say, let's test in so many places when you don't have enough kits. Yeah. So you want to roll it out prudently, step at a time. But Cape Town is a site we've been asked, Lenasia have been asked, Pretty Marisburg have been asked, and a few other sites. And by next week, once we know for a fact that those kits are coming from America, then we can increase the speed of putting up sites.
Good. Dr. Sooliman, as we wrap it up, you said phone, there's a telephone number to phone, to book an appointment, to make, to tell us all of those things. What is that number that we can phone?
For now, you can use 0800 786 911, and then thereafter they will give you the specific phone number of the testing site once many more sites are put up. Now, I just want to clear one other thing, Leanne. This money is not coming to us. Gift of the Givers is not charging 750 to the people. Gift of the Givers has facilitated labs. The charge is for them, for the lab testing, the courier costs, the nurse that's hired, the consumables that are used, the protective gear that they have to pay for. They've all agreed virtually to bring it as low down as possible. Money doesn't come to us. We've just facilitated so it's easier and cheaper for other people to pay for it.
Dr. Sooliman, thanks very much for talking to us here on the program. Important information for you. That number again, 0800 786 911. That's the number you can phone. They'll put you in the right direction if you need to try and get a test from the Gift of the Givers that have set this up. They are just initiating this for everybody. And of course, they are trying their best to get as many tests done.